In this video, we will discuss a couple options to embed Google Forms into Schoology. Google Forms serve two main purposes. The first is informational. We can use a Google Form to collect data. Secondly, we can use Google Form as an assessment in the form of an online quiz or test. In this video, we're going to look at two ways to embed Google Forms into Schoology. The first is embedding as a link, and the second way is embedding as an external tool. When we embed a Google Form as an external tool, this will create a grade column in the gradebook and allow us to input a score for that Google Form. The purpose for embedding Google Forms into Schoology is because it will help streamline the learning experience for you and your students, and it will help centralize resources as students navigate through the Schoology coursework. If you first need to learn about the Google Forms tool, we have a Google Hub at our GUHST Tech webpage at the following address. Additionally, Google has their own set of G Suite training in the G Suite Training Center. If you'd like to request support from a DLC to learn more about Google Forms, please submit a response to the form linked in Part 3. And then lastly, always feel free to email guhsttech@guhsd.net, and a DLC will reach out to you. We're going to start by embedding a Google Form that is just meant to take in information, as in a survey or some sort of poll that we don't necessarily need to add a grading column in Schoology. So we're going to start with this, and then we're going to transition to embedding a Google quiz. So this is an informational survey. We're going to go ahead and click preview to get the live link. You're going to go ahead and click the link for the view form. We're going to copy this either by Command-C or Control-C, or by right-clicking and copying this link. We're now going to go into Schoology. And we're going to scroll down to where we want to add this activity. And again, we're going to select a file linked external tool. Again, we could select either of these. Because this is an informational survey, which I'm going to be using just to gather information about my students so I can make informed decisions later about things, I'm going to select link because I don't need this to be a grading column in the gradebook. I'm going to go ahead and click link. We paste our URL of the form there. And then let's go ahead and give it a title. We want to display within Schoology, and we're going to go ahead and click add. Students would come here and they would click the form survey link, access the page, and the Google Form will be embedded within Schoology. Students would complete the form, and then information would be sent to you as the teacher. Next, we're going to take a look at how we can embed a Google Form whose settings make it a quiz. Now, there's a couple options we have here for Google Forms. Number one is we can turn a survey of any kind into a quiz by selecting this option here. Additionally, we can add more security by turning locked mode on. This is something you may have used when we were not in distance learning or who haven't been using Schoology yet. In order to embed this properly, we cannot use locked mode and embed this in Schoology. So again, a Google Forms locked mode quiz cannot be embedded inside of Schoology. In order to embed a quiz, we're just going to select make this a quiz. Of course, if you want your students to take a locked mode quiz on a Chromebook, you just wouldn't put it inside of Schoology. Secondarily, even though we're making this a quiz and Google Forms will auto-grade all of the responses that the students make, Google Forms does not pass back those grades and insert them into the Schoology gradebook. You'll have to manually put in the answers to the Schoology gradebook, or maybe don't put them in the Schoology gradebook, just take your scores from the Google Forms quiz and input them right into Infinite Campus. Whichever way you choose, just know that grades from Google Form quizzes will not be passed back automatically into Schoology just because you embed the Google quiz inside of Schoology. So now that we have our Google Forms formatted properly to turn this into a quiz, and we do not have lock mode on, we're going to embed this into Schoology. So we're going to follow similar instructions as we had before. We're going to go ahead and click preview. And we're going to copy the URL to the form. We're going to go to Schoology, identify the place where you want to place it. And what we're going to do this time is, because this is a quiz and students are going to be graded on this assessment, we're going to choose external tool, because external tool allows us to enable grading in Schoology, and it's going to place a grade column in our gradebook so we can manually enter scores if we choose to do that. So I'm going to choose external tool. Give it a title. paste in the URL that we copied, and we're going to select Enable Grading. Whatever the point total for the Google Forms quiz is, just make that equivalent to the point total in Schoology. Set a category, and click Submit. And now when the students come into the Schoology course, they'll notice the quiz. They can go ahead and click the quiz, and here's the quiz right here. They'll go ahead and click through and submit all of their answers. Google Forms functions identically inside of Schoology, so if this is an auto-graded quiz, they will see their score at the end. So you just need to make sure that when you set up your quiz under the settings section, what type of feedback do you want to give your students here? And this is a determination you're going to need to make in order for you to move forward as far as providing feedback with students. So at this point, our form is embedded. Here's the quiz. The students can take it. And based on the feedback that you decided to provide them, they will get that feedback. Afterwards, if you do want to insert the grades into Schoology itself, you'll need to go to the gradebook, identify where the quiz is in your gradebook, so our Google Forms quiz, and then you'd have to manually enter what the scores are on how they did on the Google Forms quiz.